God's chosen ones. They finally recognize your true worth and desperately seek to be part of your light. What does it mean to be chosen by God? Have you ever felt a pull, a purpose greater than yourself, stirring within your soul? Could it be that you are one of God's chosen ones, called to carry a light that transforms the world around you? To be chosen is both a gift and a responsibility. It is to carry within you a light so radiant, so undeniable, that it draws others to you, some with admiration, others with envy. This light is not your own. It is a reflection of God's presence, His divine fingerprint upon your life. Like Joseph, the favored son with the coat of many colors, you are marked by God for a purpose far beyond what you can imagine. Imagine a lighthouse standing steadfast on the edge of a cliff. The wind howls, the waves crash, and the darkness seems impenetrable. Yet the lighthouse shines, its beam cutting through the chaos, guiding lost ships to safety. You are that lighthouse. Your light is not just for you. It is for the world around you, a beacon of hope in the midst of life's storms. But this light comes with challenges. Like Joseph, your light may attract jealousy and opposition. His brothers could not see his dreams for what they truly were, a glimpse of God's plan. Instead, they saw only favoritism, a threat to their own standing. They betrayed him, casting him into a pit and selling him into slavery. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50 verse 20. Even in betrayal, Joseph's light did not dim. His story reminds us that God's chosen ones are not exempt from trials. Rather, they are shaped by them. The pit, the prison, the pain, all were part of Joseph's journey toward fulfilling his divine purpose. Have you ever faced opposition because of your uniqueness? Could it be that your struggles are not setbacks but stepping stones, shaping you for something greater? To carry the light of God is to walk a path of both wonder and weight. It is to experience moments of clarity and connection when your purpose feels undeniable. But it is also to face misunderstanding, loneliness, and the burden of being seen as different. Jesus himself experienced this tension. As he taught, healed, and loved, his light drew crowds, but it also provoked resistance. The Pharisees, threatened by his wisdom and authority, sought to discredit him at every turn. Yet Jesus never wavered. He knew his light was not meant to conform to the darkness. It was meant to overcome it. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1 verse 5. What about you? How do you respond when your light feels like both a blessing and a burden? Do you embrace it, or do you hide it, fearing what others might think? God's chosen ones are called to shine, not to hide. Your light is not meant to be tucked away or diminished to make others comfortable. It is meant to illuminate, to inspire, and to transform. Like a flame in the night, it draws people close, offering warmth and clarity. But being chosen also means embracing the unknown. Like Joseph, you may not fully understand your purpose yet. The dreams God has placed within you may feel distant or even impossible. Yet, just as Joseph's path led him from the pit to the palace, your journey is unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. Imagine planting a seed in the soil. For weeks, nothing appears to happen. The ground remains still, silent, seemingly lifeless. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, breaking through the soil to anchor the plant that will one day grow. This is your calling. Even when you cannot see it, God is working, preparing you for the moment when your light will break through the surface and shine for all to see. What seeds has God planted in your life? What dreams are you nurturing, even in the silence? Can you trust that His timing is perfect, even when you cannot yet see the results? To be chosen is to walk in faith, trusting that the light within you is not an accident but a divine appointment. It is to believe that every challenge, every moment of doubt, is part of God's plan to refine and strengthen you. You are not chosen for your perfection, but for your willingness to carry His light. You are not chosen to fit in, but to stand out, to shine brightly in a world that so desperately needs hope. Will you embrace your calling? Will you let your light shine, trusting that God is guiding your path, even when it feels uncertain. The journey of God's chosen ones begins with a simple yet profound decision: to say yes. Yes to the light, yes to the calling, and yes to the purpose He has placed within you. It is a journey of trust, resilience, and faith. A journey that will transform not only your life but the lives of all those you touch. Are you ready to take the first step? Why does your light draw people in? What is it about the presence of God's chosen ones that stirs something deep within others, pulling them closer yet leaving them unsettled? To carry God's light is to hold a mirror to the world, reflecting both its beauty and its flaws. Your light reveals truths that others may not be ready to see, truths about themselves, their desires, and their brokenness. This revelation is both magnetic and disconcerting, a pull toward transformation that is both irresistible and intimidating. Imagine a moth drawn to a flame. The moth is captivated by the glow, unable to resist its warmth and brilliance. Yet the flame also represents danger, a force that threatens the moth's fragile existence. In the same way, your light draws others, not out of idle curiosity but because it awakens something profound within them. Some approach your light with genuine admiration, seeking connection and guidance. They are inspired by your authenticity, your kindness, and your unshakable faith. They see in you a reflection of what they hope to become, a glimpse of God's truth that calls them to higher ground. But others are drawn to your light for reasons they may not even understand. They approach not with admiration, but with envy, fear, or the need to control. Your presence forces them to confront parts of themselves they would rather keep hidden. Their insecurities, their doubts, their unmet potential. Consider the Pharisees during the time of Jesus. They were drawn to His wisdom, His miracles, and His authority. Yet instead of embracing His light, they sought to extinguish it. Jesus' presence revealed their hypocrisy, their misuse of power, and their fear of losing control. This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. John 3 verse 19. Have you ever felt that your presence unsettled someone? How did it feel to see admiration and resistance coexist in the same person? Your light is not just a reflection of who you are. It is a testament to God's presence within you. It stirs something deep within others, forcing them to ask questions they may have avoided. Who am I? What do I believe? Am I living in truth or hiding in shadows? This dynamic can be both exhilarating and exhausting. On one hand, it affirms your purpose as one of God's chosen ones. On the other, it places you in the uncomfortable position of being both admired and misunderstood. Imagine a person standing before a clear mountain lake. The water reflects their image with stunning accuracy, showing every feature, every flaw. They are drawn to the beauty of the reflection but also unnerved by what it reveals. Your light is that lake, a mirror that shows people not just who they are but who they could be. Some will see the reflection and embrace the opportunity for growth. Others will turn away, unwilling to confront what lies beneath the surface. And some will try to disrupt the water, hoping to distort the image and avoid the truth. This tension is not a sign that your light is flawed. It is a sign that your light is working. It is doing exactly what it is meant to do: awakening, challenging, and transforming. But this process is not always easy. For both you and those drawn to you, it can be a journey filled with discomfort, resistance, and even pain. Consider Joseph's story once again. His brothers were not just envious of his coat of many colors, they were threatened by his dreams. His visions of leadership and purpose challenged their understanding of their own roles within the family. Instead of embracing Joseph's light, they sought to silence it. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of these cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." Genesis 37 verses 19 to 20. Like Joseph, you may face resistance not because of anything you have done, but because of what your light represents. It challenges the status quo, disrupts comfort zones, and forces others to confront truths they would rather ignore. What do you do when your light provokes resistance? How do you respond when admiration turns into envy or misunderstanding? The key is to remember that your light is not yours alone. It is God's. You are a vessel, a reflection of His truth, love, and purpose. Your role is not to control how others respond to your light, but to remain faithful to your calling. Jesus understood this dynamic deeply. He knew that His light would not be accepted by all. Yet He continued to shine, trusting that His Father's plan was greater than any resistance He faced. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5 verse 14. As one of God's chosen ones, your light will attract both followers and critics. It will inspire some and unsettle others. But through it all, your role remains the same: to shine, to reflect God's truth, and to trust that He is working through you in ways you may not fully understand. Who in your life has been drawn to your light? How can you discern whether their intentions are genuine or self-serving? How can you stay true to your calling, even in the face of resistance? Your light is a gift, a tool that God uses to awaken, inspire, and transform. It is not your responsibility to control how others respond. It is your responsibility to shine faithfully, trusting that God will handle the rest. Are you ready to embrace the strange attraction of your light, knowing that it is part of God's divine plan? In the journey of God's chosen ones, the tension between admiration and resistance is not a burden. It is a testament to the power of your light. It is a reminder that you are not just living for yourself, but for a purpose far greater than you can imagine. Will you let your light continue to shine, trusting that God is using it to transform the lives of those around you? What does it mean to carry a light so radiant that it illuminates not only the paths of others, but also the hidden corners of your own soul? What if being chosen is not just a blessing but also a weight you were never meant to bear alone? To carry the light of God is to walk a path of both glory and struggle. It is to be seen, to be admired, but also to be scrutinized. For God's chosen ones, the light they bear often attracts both praise and judgment, admiration and jealousy, love and misunderstanding. Imagine a candle burning brightly in a dark room. The light casts out shadows, bringing clarity and warmth. But the flame consumes the wax, a reminder that even light requires fuel to sustain itself. In the same way, your light, the divine presence within you, can feel like a source of strength and a burden at the same time. You may find yourself surrounded by people, yet feel deeply alone. Your uniqueness sets you apart, and while others may look to you for guidance, they cannot fully understand the weight of your calling. Like Moses leading the Israelites through the wilderness, you may feel the strain of bearing responsibility, of standing out in a way that leaves little room for rest or anonymity. But Moses said to the Lord, "Why have you brought this trouble on your servant? What have I done to displease you that you put the burden of all these people on me?" Numbers 11:11. The burden of light is not just external, it is internal. As one of God's chosen ones, you are acutely aware of your own imperfections. The light you carry illuminates not only the paths of others but also the cracks in your own foundation. This self-awareness can be humbling, even overwhelming. Consider Elijah, one of the greatest prophets in the Bible. After a dramatic showdown with the prophets of Baal, where God demonstrated His power through fire from heaven, Elijah fled in fear. Despite his victory, he felt isolated and despondent, crying out to God in the wilderness. "I have had enough, Lord," he said. "Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." 1 Kings 19 verse 4. Elijah's moment of despair reminds us that even the most faithful servants of God can feel the weight of their calling. To carry divine light is to navigate moments of doubt, exhaustion, and loneliness. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the expectations placed upon you? How do you find rest when the weight of your calling feels too heavy to bear? The burden of light also comes from the way others perceive you. Some may idealize you, placing you on a pedestal that feels both uncomfortable and unsustainable. Others may judge you harshly, holding you to impossible standards. Imagine being a shepherd tasked with guiding a flock through treacherous terrain. The sheep rely on you for safety, yet they may also blame you for every stumble, every wrong turn. As one of God's chosen ones, You are both guide and companion, carrying the weight of responsibility while navigating your own journey. But here is the truth. You were never meant to carry this burden alone. The light within you is not sustained by your strength, but by God's. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. Matthew 11 verses 28 to 29. What would happen if you surrendered your burdens to God? How might His strength carry you through the moments when your own feels insufficient? The burden of light is not a punishment. It is a refining process. It teaches you to rely on God, to seek His guidance in moments of uncertainty, and to find rest in His presence. Like gold purified in fire, you are being shaped into the person God created you to be. Jesus Himself understood the weight of carrying divine light. In the Garden of Gethsemane, as He prepared to face betrayal, suffering, and death, He prayed, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death." Matthew 26 verse 38. Yet even in His anguish, Jesus surrendered to God's will, trusting that His suffering would bring redemption to the world. His example reminds us that the burden of light, though heavy, is not without purpose. What does it mean for you to trust God with the weight of your calling? How can His presence bring you the peace and strength you need to keep moving forward? The burden of light is also a call to seek moments of stillness. In the noise and demands of life, it is easy to lose sight of the source of your light. Like Moses on Mount Sinai or Elijah in the cave, you must find time to be alone with God, to reconnect with the one who called you. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46 verse 10. In these moments of stillness, you are reminded that your light is not yours alone. It is God's gift to you, a reflection of His presence and purpose. You are not carrying it by your own strength, but by His. When was the last time you truly rested in God's presence? How can you create space in your life to reconnect with Him, to renew your strength and refocus your purpose? The burden of light is not meant to break you. It is meant to refine you. It is a reminder that even as you guide others, you are being guided. Even as you illuminate the paths of those around you, God is illuminating your own. Will you trust Him to carry the weight of your calling, to sustain your light, and to lead you through every moment of doubt and weariness? In the journey of God's chosen ones, the burden of light is both a challenge and a gift. It teaches you to lean on God, to seek His presence, and to trust that He is with you every step of the way. Are you ready to let Him carry your burdens, so you can shine brighter than ever before? How do you protect the light within you when the world tries to claim it for its own? What does it mean to set boundaries that safeguard your spirit while still shining for others? To be one of God's chosen ones is to live in the tension between openness and protection. Your light is a gift meant to illuminate, inspire, and transform. But not everyone who approaches you does so with pure intentions. Some are drawn to your light with genuine admiration and a desire for connection. Others, however, seek to exploit it, to dim it, or to use it for their own purposes. Imagine a garden filled with vibrant flowers. It is a place of beauty and life, a refuge for those who seek peace and renewal. But without a protective fence, the garden is vulnerable to intruders, those who might trample its blooms or uproot its treasures. Your light is like that garden, and boundaries are the fence that protects it. Jesus Himself set boundaries, even as He poured out His love and wisdom. He often retreated from the crowds to pray, to rest, and to reconnect with His Father. Despite His compassion, He did not allow others to dictate His time or mission. But Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Luke 5 verse 16. Boundaries are not a sign of selfishness. They are an act of stewardship. They allow you to preserve the light within you so that it can continue to shine. Without boundaries, even the strongest flame can be extinguished by the demands and expectations of others. Have you ever felt drained or overwhelmed because you gave too much of yourself to others? How might boundaries help you protect your light while still serving your purpose? Discernment is the key to setting effective boundaries. It allows you to recognize who is genuinely seeking connection and who is attempting to exploit your light. This spiritual gift helps you navigate relationships with wisdom and grace, ensuring that your energy is invested in ways that bear fruit. Consider the parable of the 10 virgins in the Gospel of Matthew. 5 were wise and brought oil for their lamps, while the other 5 were foolish and unprepared. When the bridegroom arrived, the foolish virgins asked the wise ones for oil, but they refused, knowing they needed to preserve their own light. The wise ones, however, answered, "No, there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." Matthew 25 verse 9. This story is a powerful reminder that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Protecting your light is not about withholding kindness or generosity. It is about ensuring that your light remains strong so that you can fulfill your calling. Who in your life genuinely nurtures your light, and who drains it? How can you use discernment to invest your energy wisely? Boundaries also help you recognize that you are not responsible for saving everyone. As one of God's chosen ones, you are called to shine, but not to bear the weight of every burden. Some will reject your light, not because of its flaws, but because of their own unwillingness to change. Jesus himself experienced this rejection. Despite his miracles and teachings, many chose to turn away. Yet he did not chase after them or compromise his mission to win their approval. From this time, many of his disciples turned back and no longer followed him. You do not want to leave too, do you? Jesus asked the 12. John 6 verses 66 to 67. This moment reveals the power of discernment and boundaries. Jesus knew that his light was not for everyone, and he trusted that those meant to follow him would remain. Imagine a river flowing steadily through a valley. Its banks guide its path, preventing it from spilling out and losing its strength. Without boundaries, the river would become a stagnant swamp or a destructive flood. In the same way, boundaries allow your light to flow purposefully, bringing life and renewal without being diminished or misused. But setting boundaries is not always easy. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a willingness to say no. It may mean disappointing others or facing criticism. Yet, as one of God's chosen ones, your responsibility is not to please everyone. It is to remain faithful to your calling. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. Galatians 1 verse 10. What boundaries do you need to set in your life to protect your light? How can you trust that saying no to some will allow you to say yes to God's purpose? Boundaries are not walls that isolate you. They are gates that allow you to steward your energy and focus. They enable you to say yes to what aligns with God's plan and no to what distracts or drains you. Where in your life do you feel a need for stronger boundaries? How might discernment help you protect your light while still serving others? The journey of God's chosen ones is not just about shining. It is about shining wisely. Boundaries and discernment are tools that allow you to fulfill your purpose without being consumed by the demands of others. Are you ready to set the boundaries that will protect your light and ensure that it continues to shine brightly? In the tension between openness and protection, God calls you to walk with wisdom and grace. Trust that He will guide you, giving you the discernment to navigate relationships and the courage to set boundaries. Will you embrace this balance, allowing your light to shine in ways that honor both God and yourself? What if the light within you was never meant to fade but to grow, to stretch across boundaries, and to illuminate not just your path but the lives of others for eternity? How can you embrace the truth that you were chosen not just for today, but for a purpose that transcends time? The journey of God's chosen ones culminates not in the dimming of their light, but in its expansion. Every trial, every moment of self-doubt, every boundary set with wisdom has prepared you for this moment, to step fully into your divine purpose. Your light, once tested and refined, is now a beacon, a guide for others navigating their own darkness. Imagine a single flame in the night. At first, it seems fragile, barely strong enough to withstand the wind. But as it draws fuel, it grows, igniting others until it becomes a blazing fire, visible for miles around. This is your journey. Your light is no longer just for you. It is for the world, a gift from God meant to bring hope, healing, and transformation. Your purpose as one of God's chosen ones is both deeply personal and profoundly communal. You are called not only to walk in His light but to share it, to become a living testament to His grace and power. Consider the story of the Apostle Paul. Once a persecutor of Christians, Paul's life was transformed by an encounter with Jesus. His light, once used to harm, became a source of inspiration and guidance for countless others. Through his writings and teachings, Paul illuminated the path to salvation, showing that even the most flawed among us can be chosen and redeemed. For I am the least of the apostles and do not even deserve to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am, and His grace to me was not without effect.
1 Coríntios 15:9-10.
Have you ever doubted your ability to fulfill God's purpose for your life? How can Paul's story remind you that God's calling is not about perfection but about transformation? The eternal light you carry is not dependent on your strength but on God's. It is sustained by His love, His wisdom, and His power. As you step into your purpose, you will find that the light within you is not just a reflection of who you are, it is a reflection of who He is. Imagine a sunrise breaking over the horizon. The first rays are gentle, warming the earth and awakening life. But as the sun rises higher, its light becomes stronger, more encompassing, driving out shadows and revealing the beauty of the day. This is the journey of your light. What began as a flicker has become a force capable of transforming not only your life but the lives of those around you. Your light is eternal because it is rooted in God's eternal purpose. It is not confined by time or circumstance but grows and flourishes as you continue to walk in faith. Even after you are gone, the seeds you have planted, the lives you have touched, and the truth you have shared will continue to bear fruit. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. Matthew 5:14-15. Your purpose is to be a light that cannot be hidden, a source of guidance, inspiration, and transformation for those around you. Whether through acts of kindness, words of encouragement, or simply by living authentically, your light is a testimony to God's presence in your life. But stepping into your divine purpose also requires courage. It means embracing the unknown, trusting that God will guide you even when the path ahead is unclear. Like Abraham, who left his homeland in obedience to God's call, you are invited to step into a journey of faith, knowing that He has prepared the way. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Hebrews 11:8. What steps of faith are you being called to take? How can you trust that God's plan for you is greater than anything you could imagine? The eternal light within you is not a destination. It is a journey. It is a continual process of growth, refinement, and alignment with God's will. Each day brings new opportunities to shine, to serve, and to step deeper into your purpose. Imagine a river flowing through a valley. It begins as a small stream, humble and unassuming. But as it gathers strength, it carves through mountains, nourishes fields, and sustains life for miles around. This is your calling. Your light, once small and fragile, has become a source of life and renewal, flowing into the world with unstoppable force. How can you nurture the light within you to ensure it continues to grow? What steps can you take to align more fully with God's purpose for your life? Your journey as one of God's chosen ones is not just about shining. It is about becoming a catalyst for transformation. You are called to lead others out of darkness, to inspire them to see their own potential, and to point them toward the source of all light, God Himself. Will you step into your divine purpose, trusting that God has equipped you for the journey ahead? Will you let your light shine not just for today, but for eternity? In the end, the eternal light you carry is not yours alone. It is a gift, a reflection of God's infinite love and grace. As you walk this path, remember that you are never alone. He is with you, guiding your steps, strengthening your spirit, and illuminating the way. Will you embrace the eternal light within you, trusting that it is part of a plan far greater than you could ever imagine. The world is waiting for your light,